Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. It's a privilege to come to you once again. I do my best to bring impactful, life-changing and effective content to you each and every time. And this time I have a great and wonderful guest, Miss Shamil Tumisang Agosi. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me, and greetings to our viewers as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Would you just do me and the viewers a favor by explaining to us who you are and your background?
Great. Okay, so Shamil Tumisang Agosi is an image consultant. I am an executive coach, and I also run a social enterprise. And so technically, people always ask me my personal story, where I come from. I come from Kanye. Though I trained in marketing, then I saw an opportunity in the branding space. And so all of this for me, it actually translates back to where I came from. And what do I mean by that is the fact that, growing up and having gone through the most unfortunate happenings as a child, per se. I mean, I'm talking about losing a parent when you were young, and where you actually had to become a child parent yourself at 13 years. And
how old were you?
I was 13. Yes, and you can imagine how, in terms of, just the basic of cleanliness and all that certain things that obviously as a child you overlooked and you were not paying attention to as when you had a guardian. And so then I was sort of bullied emotionally, yes, because of that aspect. At school, they used to call me names. I would not mention the name, but they actually used to call me due to the way I was looking. But I tried my best really to look my best. But then again, there's always that aspect that your enough is never really enough for other people. And so at a point in time, now that, having to transition, going through that sorrow of losing parents, and then now you have society that is taking you in a certain way. And now you realize that, I need to reinvent myself. You're growing up now, so you no longer want to be associated with, with your past. You no longer want, the people to see you in the same light that they used to see you.
I was actually going to chip in there and ask you which part of the country you're coming from, and in an effort to understand how it all started. You're an image consultant. How did it all start in the context of your background?
Great, yes. And so I come from Kanye. And coming from Kanye.
That's my home village.
That's homeboy.
Homeboy, homeboy.
Yes. So in the context of how I actually became an image consultant, it's because it's something that actually worked for me. I had to do a lot of work to upgrade my physical appearance. I did a lot actually to try to look my best all the time, so that first impressions, nobody would tell that this child is coming from a home where she actually
done a very good job, by the way.
Thank you. Had to prepare herself. And so I even did the same with my younger sisters. And so I realized that as years went by, nobody actually would tell that I didn't have a parent. And for me, I realized the power of that, because even myself, it changed my perception, the way I saw myself. I started, shifting my mindset to, to try to bring to life the things that I wanted to see happen in my life. And so self-confidence is one of those things that I absolutely worked on. And having worked on self-confidence and knowing how it actually worked for me. And, as I was growing up, people used to tell me, oh my God, you look so good. How did you do that? I want you to come and help me. Please, can you help me do my makeup? Can you help me, look good? How did you put together those outfits that looks really good on you? And I realized that it was not even about money as well. It was not about the financial attachment that you have to your clothing or anything like that.
That's very interesting. The thing we're going to talk about today is really self-confidence.
Absolutely.
And I want to really just bring it down to that.
Yes.
You have a very interesting background.
Yeah.
What did you say is a working definition of self-confidence? How do you define it?
Great. Okay. Mr. Mogobe, as a lawyer, there's self-confidence actually comes from a Latin word and is federe. And so this federe. So federe, it basically means self-trust, you know. And so self-confidence in actual fact is innately about trusting yourself and being in a position where you actually completely believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, and you take out this belief and this self-trust to use it to work for you. So that is, in my own words, self-confidence. It's about, being able to transform yourself and trusting yourself, trusting your capabilities, and not being shy to actually stand up for the things that you believe in. And society, sometimes, they do take self-confidence for sometimes arrogance. It's there's a thin line
between arrogance and self-confidence.
And over self-confidence. So over self-confidence, then there is where, it's completely dependent on personalities. And so I would safely say that self-confidence, as identified as a soft skill, definitely there are certain people who don't have it innately. And so it's something that definitely you have to work on. It's something that has to be cultivated.
There are some people born with it, and there are some who have to develop it.
There are certain people who their personality traits, and I'm talking about just human dynamics now. How different we are. There are certain people who are outspoken and they're not shy to go out in the world. And it does not necessarily mean that they actually have self-confidence. Some of them, yes, they have those traits, but are unable to stand in front of people and say the things that they believe in. And so now then ultimately, hence why I said that self-confidence is all about self-trust. Trusting yourself to say that, okay, I got this, I'm qualified, I'm the best man for this job, and I'm gonna tell my boss that I am actually the best man, so they should consider me.
All right.
And yes.
I want to go a little bit further. Are there different components to self-confidence? And if so, what are the components to self-confidence?
Great. And so the components of self-confidence, I think number one, as I have mentioned to you, is your capabilities. And capabilities I'm talking about, it could be what you've started for. It could be what you're really good at, your talents. It could be also mindset. To a large extent, it's all about mindset shift. And so with this, I think the mindset shift then becomes the game changer, because without a proper and a correct mindset, it doesn't matter what sort of qualifications you have. If you don't believe that you can do something, you can't work on your self-confidence. It can't work for you.
And tell me, how important is it for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs, I normally give a definition of people working within an organization.
Yes.
And entrepreneurs is people who are self-employed, running their own organizations.
Yes.
How important is self-confidence to these groups of people?
Mr. Mogobe, self-confidence is what is what differentiates between you actually, two of us, going to a prospect and I connecting with the prospect firsthand, and you shying away because you think that I'm shining your light. I'm overshadowing you. And so you'd rather not turn up. And so I take the project, I take the tender, and you remain behind. And then you think that I was
turn up, you
too
mean
much.
Not just in terms of coming, you mean that turning up emotionally.
Turning up emotionally,
yes.
turning up, being able to connect. And I think I must also make a clarion call to this, to say that, at the core of self-confidence is, the premise upon which even social media or relationships are built on. It's about building meaningful relationships. And so we earlier on, we made reference to, the thin line line between over self-confidence and arrogance.
Yes.
And so now, meaningful relationships is about trust, is about respect. And if it's about respect, then there is that, I mean, just morally, there is that point where you reach when you're having a conversation with someone that you can see from their non-communicative cues, the way they are reacting.
Non-communicative cues, that
yes,
body language.
It's body language. It could be body language. It could be facial expressions. It could be the use of hands. You know, and it could be, you know, it could be anything. Something that is giving you a hint that I don't like something, and then you are unable to perceive that. You are unable to read it, and so you continue, and therefore it breaks you. It breaks you, and then it clashes. You know, it's like, I don't like the way you did.
I think everybody wants an answer to this question. How do you develop and boost your self-confidence, especially as a business person, even as a government employee? For you to get a promotion, you have to impress your boss and so on. So developing and boosting your self-confidence. I want you to really you know, unpack that for us.
Great. Okay. So how you develop your self-confidence? Okay. Number one, say for in the corporate world, is about you actually going out to upskill, to reskill. During COVID-19, it has shown us that, you know, the people who are actually going to make it are the people who are willing to go with the trends, the people who are willing to actually, you know, to fit in. Not fitting in, and I'm not referring to, you know, faking it. So I'm referring to where you're actually agile, where you identify an opportunity, even though you know you're not ready for it, but you upskill yourself. You use whatever avenues are available for you to be the best person that you can. It's about, you know, if it means getting a certification for a certain thing, then that's about it. And then self-confidence also is about working on yourself. It's about working on your mind, your mindset shift. And then physical appearance have proved to have a very serious impact on boosting your self-confidence. And so myself, I started first of all, you know, working on my physical appearance and looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself that I am beautiful. And this actually, I realized that it boosted my inner self.
Do you repeat it to yourself in the mirror?
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. I don't leave my house until I feel that I look my best.
Is it like a mantra?
It is a mantra, indeed. So my mantra in life, and I think that everybody should also adopt the same, is, you know, look good, feel good, and do good. And all of this actually, I mean, feeling good is about, I mean, looking good is about appreciating yourself, that indeed, yes, I am beautiful. And beauty, I'm not talking about what people usually talk about. Nah, I'm talking about appreciating yourself and trusting yourself that, you know,
as
what,
a creature of
you
God.
are unique. You are unique in your own way. And a lot of women actually have a very terrible, you know, have bad confidence on themselves.
Society is to blame for that, is it?
Society blames them for a lot of things. I mean, also they go through the most, I must also say that. And having to, you know, break through those shackles and come out to the light and compete equally as, you know, together with men, then they're always looked at you have to do 2 times hard work than what the man is actually putting up with. And so for them, therefore, self-confidence and truly believing and trusting in their own capabilities and their efforts and believing that, you know what, I'm born for this thing. I can do this thing.
I was made for this.
I was made for this thing. And being able to actually step out into the light and doing that thing. So number 1 is about affirming to yourself the things that you want. And then number 2 is about doing what you can to be competitive. And then number 3 is about, you know, improving on your physical appearance, because first impressions are everything, Mr. Mogobe. I step out every day, or even you step out every day, and people compliment you. They say, "Oh my God, you look so good." I mean, there's no one who have seen who say they don't like being told that they are good or they did something
I've never
good.
had anybody get angry.
You can go to prison for that. And then also the other very important aspect is that I mentioned earlier on about morals. And in morals, I'm talking about now, you know, when I said doing good, it's sometimes about doing something for someone unexpectedly without expecting anything.
No compensation, nothing in return.
No compensation whatsoever. If it means I actually buying the security guard outside a mill. He didn't expect it. I don't need to announce to the world, but I do that. And the fact that you help someone, you help put a smile on someone, it boosts your confidence.
Goes a long
yes,
way.
and actually there's a scientific explanation to that.
I was going to ask you actually on the scientific explanation to answer this question, the benefits, the actual tangible benefits and advantages of self-confidence.
Great. Okay, so Mr. Mogobe, the benefits of being self-confident. Number one, you are aware, because you are aware of your capabilities. You are the person who's going out there and grinding and getting the things that you want.
Getting the check.
You're getting the money back, basically. And also you are able to articulate yourself. You are able to not allow anybody to step on your toes. You are not, you're not anybody else's doormat, as people would typically put it. And then there is also that you're able to build meaningful relationships with other people. Everybody wants positive energy around them. And people who are self-confident, they usually inspire confidence in others. And so a lot of people want to hang around people who are self-confident because they want to get that energy to themselves. They also want to be beneficiaries of what you're benefiting from. And so that is why self-confidence is very, very important for anybody. And I've seen kids, Mr. Mogobe, it's so sad that, you go to schools today, and just because another child doesn't have self-confidence in class, like for example, the other one who is outspoken is selected for awards. The other one who, say for example, in the corporate, typical corporate world, a hard worker, lacking self-confidence and believing that, my hard work speaks for me, which is not completely correct. Not in this world, at least, because we're living in a very hyper-competitive world. And so
hard work counts, but there's always a bit more.
Hard work counts, but it's about, are you able to communicate the value that you can give to the company? If you are unable to communicate that value, then the company will always go for somebody who can do that, because they want an advocate. They want a brand ambassador. They don't want only a technician. Today, as I mentioned, that we're living in a hyper-competitive world. It requires you to be a well-rounded and all-rounded personality. It means that if you need to upskill, do whatever else you need to do to build your soft skills, your interpersonal relationships, the way you relate with other people. Because ultimately, we want our customers who come to our company to feel that,
am I hearing you to be saying, am I understanding you to be saying that good things in business happen to those who are confident, which leads to my next point. What does confidence translate to in the corporate world?
Absolutely. So good things definitely happen to people who are self-confident. I can attest to that. I'm given opportunities left, right, and center. Sometimes I don't have to be begging for those opportunities. In fact, opportunities come to me because people
I remember
I'm
the one who chased after you for this interview. Okay. All right. You didn't ask me.
Thank you. I don't know what you saw, but I believe that my first impressions are working.
Yes.
And so what self-confidence translates to in the corporate world, I had made reference earlier on to a highly technical person who is hardworking, but feels that they are not seen in the workspace. And so now what they usually do, Mr. Mogobe, today we are working as we are, going through COVID-19, a lot of companies had to lay down a lot of people. And so some of these people who have been laid down are the most hard workers. In fact, that the guys who did the work and the work that the other one who was outspoken, the other one who was self-confident, reported on those as theirs and say, I did
They took the credit.
They took the credit.
Yeah, and nobody noticed anything
because you
different.
were not there to actually speak for yourself. The promotion ended up being given to somebody else that you can perform
what
better
then do you
than.
say about people who say you should be humble and humility, and even the Bible says, the kingdom of God is for the meek, or words to that effect. What about this idea of meekness, not claiming credit? But are you saying that out there in the real world, you have to claim credit? You have to sit on the rooftops and announce what you're capable of?
Mr. Mogobe, this is the same culture, or rather the same ideologies that made women to be timid today. And it's the same ideologies also that refer to women who are not outspoken, but who are self-confident, as arrogant women, as people who, the loud mouths, I recently saw...
They use even unflattering words, which we can't repeat here.
And so now coming back to what you said, meekness is good, humility is really good. But Mr. Mogobe, there's a line between humility and just allowing yourself to be ridden over. Humility, to be a dom, as you mentioned. Yes. Humility is ultimately about morals, is about, reverence to the next person. But in the corporate world, to what extent do we then say that this is an okay level of humility? Like where, because of corporate governance, you are not supposed to actually bow down to anybody because you are there. We believe you are there because you are competitive. We believe you are there because you made the cut. You can actually perform. Not because you were bootlicking, not because you actually were bowing down to another person. And so now meekness, then I think in the biblical context is referring to reverence. And in the biblical term also, we see when we say those of meek spirits, we're saying you're not flamboyant, you are not arrogant, you don't hurt other people's feelings at the expense. You don't satisfy yourself at the expense of other people's feelings. And so meekness, I think in the biblical term, that's what it was referring to. And so I think then we should take it, when we're taking it into literal, it's just upon every one of us, because you are different. What hurts me maybe it doesn't hurt you. But then it's about protecting your own space and knowing that this is something I can accept and this is something I cannot accept. And so also talking about self-confidence and meekness or humility, there's an aspect of self-promotion that I believe that a lot of people don't know how to self-promote. You've achieved, but you are not confident enough to tell people about your capabilities, your achievements, so that they know. We live in a world where
which takes me to the next point. I think you're getting there, but let me see if I can push you a little bit further. What are the misconceptions around self-confidence? I think what you could do is use your own personal story, your own personal experience to demonstrate what these misconceptions are around this idea of
self-confidence. I see. Yes, I think the most important one, or the biggest one rather, that I often see people even alluding to, is that when you are confident, then you are arrogant. And I beg to differ, because Mr. Mogobe, when you are confident, you know where to stop, you know where not to cross the line. And also, as I have mentioned earlier on, there is a difference between having self-confidence and being overconfident. Being overconfident does not necessarily mean that you are competitive.
No.
It does not necessarily mean that you are the guy who is the right guy for the work. It just means that your energy is just, it's not balanced. There is a balance to
your
this
low
thing.
energy.
Yes. And so coming back to my story.
It's interesting you should say that, because one of the reasons Donald Trump won the American presidency is he challenged the guy who was ahead of him at the time, who was Jeb Bush, on the basis that he was low energy. And he gave him this nickname, and the nickname stuck as a result of the fact that the nickname coincided with the perception and the behavior, finished him off.
Absolutely.
So it is correct. Whereas he would probably be the most competent and able person. He'd be a wonderful president.
Yes. But do you have what we need for you to be there? Are you confident? Are you emotionally
and does it carry across? Does it reflect?
Does it reflect on the things that you do? If it doesn't, people will be thinking, okay, in times of war, will you be in the right... Will you be the right personnel to actually go out there and speak firmly for what the country believes in? And so now coming back, I think I wanted to say that growing up, I was one of the most misunderstood persons. And this, I'm referring to the fact that, you were always called the one, or I'm not sure if I can say it in Swana, but they would usually call it hopapa. You know, hopapa meaning that you're fast.
Yeah.
You are,
you're so full of yourself.
Active. It could also mean yes. Also, it could also mean that, but to a certain extent, I looked back and I said, but I'm mega papa, and so I'll go back home really, and then I'll ponder on these things, on this comments that people would make, and I realized no, I just stand up for what I believe in. If I'm in class, I know the answer. I'm definitely going to say, teacher, point me. If the teacher is asking for somebody to read in class, I'll be the one to say, yep, I can do it. And then even so much so in the corporate world, you're told to volunteer or to pick someone or to delegate someone to do something. I was hoping you'd
give examples from your career as an image consultant.
Yes.
And as in your experience, how, without mentioning names, what actually happened that made this point clear to you?
Yes, okay. So as an image consultant, often at times, I mean, I see people wanting to only be in their own space. And in our own space, I'm referring to, being locking themselves in a shell. We usually call it a box.
A cocoon, yeah.
A cocoon, and you get to actually find out why this particular person is doing this is because number one is fear of failure, and then number two is fear of being visibility. And visibility is a very important aspect when it comes to image management, because impressions are based on visibility. We can be in a room, I can be, having everybody else here, and then I step outside, you'd come and say, hi, I saw you inside, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing you. And you don't want to be that guy who was in the corner, hiding in the corner, in pub, inside actually.
In open sight, you're hiding.
And you're hiding. And it's not a good thing, especially when during networking sessions, we usually see, a lot of
from your clients and some of the participants in your workshops.
Yes, a lot of my clients, even a lot of participants, usually from my workshops, you see that one guy during tea break, and when we're told to actually be networking, they just get that coffee, they get that meal, and they identify just a corner where nobody is there, and they just look. Sometimes they look to the wall. Sometimes they just look to the people and assess the situation, and then one to one to
they're just obsessed on their phones.
Sometimes
they hide behind the phones.
They hide behind the phones. Sometimes they just walk away, and then tomorrow they see somebody having benefited an opportunity from that networking session, and they're like, How did you get that one? How did you get Mr. Mogobe's number? How did it happen? It was during the networking session. You made yourself available. You showed people that, listen, I'm also here. I'm visible. I can do this thing. And people trusted you, and they said, you know what, we don't know much about them, but I think this one, we can do something.
Importance of first impressions. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Let's say somebody's coming for an interview. They haven't met the interviewer or the panel. What should they do to put across that they are the best person for the job?
Great.
And what sort of actions should they take to make that all-important first impression?
Absolutely. So number one, I think maybe I can make reference to job searchers. Is preparation. Preparation is everything. And then preparation, it also entails understanding the people that you are going to. Say, for example, you've been asked for to come to an interview at Mogobe Plaza, for example. Understand what Mr. Mogobe is all about, what he does, and the interview that you've been called for. And understand also what unique value are you going to be giving to these people who are going to be, interviewing you. And then secondly, now, it's about, making sure that you look the part. You have to stand out, Mr. Mogobe. You have to stand out. It means that you have to wear, if it's, I don't know, the best, whatever you have in the house, you wear that. You clean it if it's not, you think it's not really that flamboyant or anything like that. You clean it up, whatever you have. It's not about expensive. It's about looking your best, where you walk out, you're like, I'm gonna kill this thing, and you go and you actually make it happen. And people, when they see you, they will tell you, you smell good, you look good. They will look at you, and nothing about you actually flatters. I mean, nothing about you misflatters. Nothing about you is saying to them that, we can't trust you. People should look at you and think that you're worth the shot. And so these are unsaid rules that HR practitioners are looking for: the guy who is outstanding, the guy who will sit there and say, I'm able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, we're no longer told to specialize in one thing. Today, you're told that you need to be an all-round HR practitioner. You need to be an all-round accountant. It means that if you're a lawyer, it means that you have to be actually conversant in other topics. That you're there and you're like, listen, I was the best in my class. I graduated first, the best in my school, and it's good. It's good because you have the theoretical know-how that actually we need. You can get something done, but can you actually put it to practice? And that's when our self-confidence is going to come up. And then self-promotion is about now getting into
Yes,
that
I was going to ask you about
Yes.
self-promotion. Actually, I was thinking of it from a marketing standpoint.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur. Speak to that subject.
Great. Okay. So self-promotion, very, very important. I always go out there and I tell people what Squaregate Holdings is able to do better than what anybody else is able to do. And that is, being able to communicate and, identify strong points in your brand that can make your brand stand up. And so what I usually do is, Mr. Mogobe, when I started my company, I started off, doing what the normal branding, what everybody else is doing, your logos, your websites, this and that. And then I realized something that, a brand is not only about what I see.
Yes.
A brand comprises of the things that are unsaid, how I communicate my brand. It's about the personnel. It's about is it customer centric? Is it something I can relate with? Is it emotionally connecting to me as somebody who's going to be buying? And so also, are the people who are representing this brand people I can trust with my money?
That's very interesting.
Yes, are they the best investment I can make right now? Between going to, say, for example,
So in other words, you have to be choosy even in choosing your clients, be choosy in selecting your clients.
We are very picky, actually. We are very picky, and so are our clients. Every client is very picky because every client goes to where they believe that the brand actually speaks to them somehow. And I often, when I, as a marketing practitioner, I usually say that, marketing is based on human psychology. You first of all have to understand what makes people do the purchase decisions. You have to understand what actually within the communication, the communique that you're making, the message that you're sending out to me, what is going to make me connect to your brand and trust it. And so and it's not even about the colors. It's about, is it something I can trust? Yes, I'm seeing the colors, it look really professional, and now I'm going to the people, I'm going to the company, the corporate culture. And do I feel welcomed when I get there? If I don't, you are out. And then is it in terms of, price competitiveness? Is it something I can afford right now as a client? Yes. Sometimes it's not even about the money. If I trust a brand, I can use the last penny to actually get that thing, just
you're
to
looking
get
at long-term
the experience.
value.
Yes, you're looking at long-term value, but most importantly, you want to derive a certain experience out of that. And I always give reference to, say, for example, iPhone, Apple, they don't sell products. Apple, they will tell you that they sell importance. They sell an experience. So anybody who goes and buys an Apple phone, they're looking for a certain experience, that I'm unique, I am whatever.
They've really done a good job
they
there
did
of
a good
marketing
job there.
themselves.
Absolutely. And so that's the same thing also with our local SMMEs. They need to identify what is their brand value. And if they're unable to identify that, I think it's high time they actually consulted on professionals to find out exactly what they can do to make sure that their brand is outstanding and connect with their target market.
Okay. As we come towards the end of our meeting, our discussion, can you explain how you use self-confidence to impact others in terms of getting, actual results and outcomes.
Great. Okay. So it has several aspects to it. As I mentioned earlier on when I started, I also am a social entrepreneur. I have an NGO called African Union Youth Club.
Union Youth Club.
Yes, Youth Club. And so how I actually started this was I had always aspired to actually work with the African Union. And so I went to an extent to learn about the AU frameworks, AU tools and programs. And I was like, there's so much value in African Union that people don't know. And so I took that information, used my self-confidence, the fact that I was very confident about myself, and I still am confident about myself. So I took that information and I started teaching other young people and telling them, there's this opportunity, apply. And so my confidence is the one that actually gave me courage to stand in front of people and tell them that I'm helping you with this. Let's do this together. And today we're talking about an NGO that is registered across all Southern Africa member states. It's working with both African Union and SADC Secretariat. I personally sit in a number of committees at the SADC Secretariat. I'm an advisory board member with the Energy Efficiency Facility for Entrepreneurs that just got set up. And I have influenced a lot of policies at the regional level during ministerial meetings and all that. I've spoken in front of ministers and all that. And for me, all of this was because I went in front of people with my ideas, confident that my ideas are relevant. And I told them that this is what is going to be working for young people in Africa.
What particular initiative are you very proud about, which you initiated through these activities?
Great. Okay, so the African Union Youth Club, like I said, besides the fact that we've produced some of the best youngest leaders across the continent, like for example, the Deputy Minister for ICT in Namibia is actually a member of the AUIC. That's where she got the first training and recognition. The first youngest person who actually sits in the Presidential Economic Committee for Namibia is actually the chairperson for the African Union Youth Club in Namibia, and Shamil Agosi, basically, being recognized and being well-rounded, as having served in a number of boards, a number of committees, and there's quite a number of young people also who have actually benefited from this, from the ICT all the way to entrepreneurship, all the way to agriculture, all across. Actually, there's a lot of initiatives, and I think one of the biggest milestones is the fact that previously, SADC Secretariat was, identified as that body that is just too high and inaccessible.
People were fearful of it even.
Yes. I got into the SADC Secretariat and I realized that, no, I'm not going to be the only one who is in there. And so I tagged along a number of young people also to be able to do that. And because I was trusted, and I still am trusted, and because the leader said, no, she's worth the shot, I said, no, but this other one is also worth the shot. This other one is also worth the shot. And every time when SADC Secretariat during all of SADC high-level meetings, I actually made a recommendation that they have to be a young person represented. And so the ministers acceded to that decision and said yes. And so for me, it's about impact and seeing other people, succeeding because I took an initiative.
Okay, you've been a wonderful guest. I really enjoyed this interview. But before I let you go, can you look at the camera and speak to that entrepreneur there, speak to that potential client of yours there, inspire them, motivate them, tell them, give them some confidence.
Absolutely.
And share with them what you've experienced.
Oh, great. An entrepreneur at home, this might not necessarily be the best decisions. I mean, not the best of times. I mean, everybody else is going through something else. But I want to tell you something. The fact that you woke up in the morning and you decided that you were going to provide a solution to change someone's life, you are not only offering value for yourself, you're offering value because you want to empower your life, but also I want to believe that there's someone that you are employing, and that person, you are changing their lives. So do your best to make sure that you are outstanding already, the fact that you actually decided to start. But I want to tell you that remember that as you are confident, you are aspiring and inspiring confidence in others. And so my plea to you is to always make sure that you don't bring anyone down. It's not worth it. Just go out there, do your thing, win, and make sure that you tag along another person so
What
that
was
you
those
can
three
inspire them.
mantras? Be good.
Look good, be good, and feel good.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, how do people reach you now? Share with the viewer your contacts.
Great. So you can reach me across all social media platforms. On LinkedIn, I am Shamil Tumisang Agosi. On Facebook is at Shamil Agosi. I have also a personal page for Shamil Agosi. So you can also go to African Union Youth Club. I'll definitely be able to see that. Or you can visit Squaregate Holdings. It's quite a number. There's a number of ways. But if you want to reach me, there is an email. It's shamilagosi@gmail.com. Or you can actually reach me at 76543228. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Now, do you want the viewer to subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom or not?
I mean, absolutely. There's a lot of content, there's a lot of value actually in the Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom. And I think it's the word says itself. It's about nuggets of wisdom. And if you want any nuggets of wisdom, I'm talking about content that you can actually take in, that is user-friendly, that you don't have to decode. It's already decoded for you. And so go and make sure that you subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom on YouTube. And you can also make sure that you follow Mr. Mogobe on LinkedIn or any of the social media platforms. Also, make sure that you come and have that Italian pizza or
At Nona's.
or meal at Nona's, or even a black. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I honor you. I respect you. I really welcome you to this space. I suspect this is not your first visit. You'll be coming again to the Nuggets.
Thank you.
Is that a deal?
Thank you so much. Yes, it's a deal.
Okay, thank you.